Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meeting live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to the September 27th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. A thought for today: time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is eternity. I would like to ask for a moment of reflection to honor all who have been touched by the events of September 11th. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Okay, under resolutions, need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
There are no advances today. Requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye, but I'm going to make some exceptions. 1891, 92, and 93. Clemens and Nelson's, it's over $12,000. I believe we can do that in-house.
Mrs. Vacy, you approve with those exceptions on?
Yes.
Okay. Travel expenses?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
That authorize various personal actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of the Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez, are we to have an executive session today?
Yes, Commissioners, I'll be requesting an executive session for the express purpose of discussing new hires as allowed under the Sunshine Law.
I would suggest that we hold the sheet till the end then, if it's agreeable. Thank you.
Okay, to authorize the addition or deletion of personnel in the Children's Services Department to utilize their Shell Oil Gasoline credit card for the balance of the year 2001.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into the following contracts between the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lorain County Sheriff to provide necessary medical services at the Lorain County Correctional Facility effective September 30th, 2001. The first contract will be with Dr. Marion Prince, who will provide necessary medical services for a period of 3 years from October 1st, 2001 until September 30th, 2004. An agreement does contain a 30-day written cancellation clause. The compensation is payable as follows. For the first year, $83,491.20. Second year of the contract, $86,665.76. Third year of the agreement, $92,049.04. The second contract with Brian T. Davis, the physician's assistant. He will provide necessary services to the physician for a period of 3 years from October 1st, 2001 until September 30th, 2004. This agreement does contain a 30-day written cancellation clause. Compensation is payable as follows. For the first year, $18,720. The second year, $19,656. The third year, $20,637.76. Third contract with Dr. Christy DiRenzo will provide necessary dental services for a period of 1 year from October 1st, 2001 until September 30th, 2002. An agreement does contain a 30-day written cancellation clause. Compensation is payable as follows for the first year, which is the year of the contract, $52 an hour, 3 hours a week, or $8,112 annually. The last contract with Dr. Deborah Korick will provide the necessary mental health counseling services. This contract is for a period of 3 years, from October 1st, 2001 until September 30th, 2004, and also contains a 30-day written cancellation clause. Compensation is payable as follows. For the first year, $18,720. Second year, $19,656. The third year, $20,637.76.
Sheriff Stamati, would you like to address the board regarding this proposal, please?
Good morning, Phil Stamati, Lorraine County Sheriff.
Good morning.
We have Lieutenant Jack Hammond, he's one of my operations corrections. Basically, Commissioners, as you know, we have privatized this back in 1995 with Wexford Health Sources. We had a 2-year contract with a 1-year renewal option. That has come up this year. We did have negotiations with Wexford, and I told them the option stated there was a 5% CPI increase, Consumer Price Index increase, and that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted to raise our medical from like $670,000 to about $1,116,000, and I told them that definitely wasn't acceptable. So we had some negotiations back and forth, and we couldn't come to an agreement at that point. So my lieutenant, with the RN administrator in the back, they did some research, and we figured if we took it back under as county employees, some of the employees, and contracted some of these services, that we could do it for less than $800,000, which would be saving the county obviously over a couple $100,000. And that would give us 24-hour coverage for nursing. So we had contacted the prosecutor. We also met with County Administrator Jim Cortez and ran some of this stuff by him also. But at this point, we would like to get these contracts approved. And I didn't know if the commissioners had any questions.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sheriff.
Thank you, that just paid for those vehicles, thanks. But I talked with Bob Flanagan because CORSA will not cover private physicians like malpractice. And Bob and I, when we talked about it, Bob said that he was going to get certificates of insurance from the physicians.
Yes,
that we
and
can
I believe
have on
that's in the
file.
contracts, that they will get their own insurance to indemnify the county.
Yes, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Cortez, do you have any comments?
Actually, this will pay for more than those vehicles. It's a savings. The sheriff's done a great job on this. You're also in the process of contracting with the hospitals and a pharmacy. We're going to start getting discounts on our medical and prescription drugs that are used out there. So it's going to be additional savings that we may not be able to put a dollar value on right now, but we'll realize over the course of doing this. So it's been a great undertaking. And Mr. Flanagan has just informed me that it's a requirement to have the malpractice insurance in the contract with these people.
Yep. Okay, when I looked at the contract, I didn't see it, but I just skimmed through it.
It was in there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, Administrator
Flanagan.
and
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioners.
Cortez.
Thank you.
Ms. Sheriff Stamati, what is the pleasure of the board?
You know what, I don't think that the public knows Bob. Maybe we should introduce him. He's not here that often.
M. Robert Flanagan, Assistant County Prosecutor. Good morning, Bob, and welcome to our meeting. I assume that Jerry Ennis is occupied elsewhere.
Yes.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vacy.
You're welcome.
Now, regarding item number 11, what is the pleasure of the board?
Also move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you for all the effort that was put into this very complicated issue.
Good job, Sheriff.
To reject bids received for the systems and equipment alterations at the Lorain County Correctional Facility and re-advertise in the Chronicle Telegram and Morning Journal on October 1st and 8th, 2001. A pre-bid meeting will be held at the correctional facility on Monday, October 15th, 2001 at 10 a.m.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
To award contract to Arkinetics of Lorain, Ohio in the amount of $14,880, which amount includes reimbursables up to $250 for architectural services for the proposed roof and HVAC replacement at the Lorain County Engineers Office, the TB Clinic, the Health Department building, and the Juvenile Detention Home. I'd like to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
This is for architectural services. Is this the issue that Ralph was supposed to, okay. Ralph Simagala, our Building and Grounds Maintenance Supervisor, is here if we have any questions. Does the board have any questions, or are you prepared to approve?
Yeah, I do. As it reads, it says to replace, and I'm a little bit concerned because roofs don't always have to be replaced. I don't know about HVACs, but should this read differently?
Good morning, Ralph.
Good morning.
Ralph Simagala, Maintenance Coordinator for County Commissioners. Pertaining to your question, Commissioner Vassy, we put a lot of emphasis the last few years on, maintaining roofs to the various facilities, and these were the last three that come down to the area where replacement is necessary, pertaining mainly to the Juvenile Detention Center. Theirs has been in some bad shape, as well as the Engineers Building and the Health Department. And normally, when we do a project like this, you look at the rooftop HVAC units and their life expectancy, and when we did this survey, it would be wise to replace them, plus maybe in addition, adding a little something extra, like out the detention home. Some areas don't have air conditioning where they have heat, and the engineering would cover that, looking in to make those areas more acceptable.
I think we had $1 million set aside for projects such as this, but then we used like $250,000 out of that.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if this is going to cover
Okay.
three roofs.
You're right. You're exactly correct, Commissioner. We placed $1 million in the capital improvements account with the specific purpose of dealing with some of these roof issues. We took $250,000 out of that account early in the year because we hadn't done any work, and we felt it was better to use appropriated monies and move them around rather than going to unappropriated monies. The only way to find out if the dollar amount that we have is going to be sufficient is to plan for these jobs and then pick the jobs we go along. This is not a guarantee that these jobs will be done. This will be the prelude to whether we're going to do them or not. Cost analysis, what work's supposed to be performed, so that you can make a decision on whether you want to expend funds to replace those roofs or not.
Okay, that's why I'm thinking maybe the wording should be different in the resolution. Instead of replacing, maybe we should word it that whatever we can do up to a certain amount of money.
Well, I think we need the plans first, and then we need to decide what we can do.
But I
They're
don't
going
want
to-
the resolution to read that we're going to replace all three of these roofs, and then we don't do it. We'll have to, otherwise we can amend it, I imagine. We can.
Sounds like to me what we're doing is we're just voting on whether or not we're going to award the contract to Arkinetics.
Right.
The
Well, wait,
To
let-
replace.
But let me ask you this. Are we awarding the whole contract so that he then is continuing going to be our contract, or our architect for all three of these buildings, or are we going to?
That's correct.
So we're agreeing to hire this firm to represent us for all three when we do repair.
Well, they're going to do all the work up to bidding the projects for the roof.
So they're going to get a percentage of those jobs too, plus this money?
Whatever the standard arrangement is. No. Ralph, go ahead and speak to, you have a flat rate agreement with these folks, right?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, so
Their proposed quote there of $14,880 was their price for doing the architectural services and the mechanical for the services in those three buildings.
And being the GC on the project, or?
Well, no, they will prepare the specifications and documents for
Right.
bid, and that will be a bid job.
Right, they won't be the GC. We had several other bids. This was the
Okay.
lower. This wasn't the only company that you went to. Some of them were pretty expensive, weren't they, Ralph?
Yeah, the next one above was at $62,000.
But they're going to do the specifications to replace the roofs.
Yes,
And
Commissioner.
what if we decide not to replace them, then we have to go out for new specs?
No, the specs would be in place and everything would be in order for bid, through review of Elyria and everything. And if you did not want to proceed with the project, there still would be specifications to work off at a later date.
But what if it just needs repair? That's my
Well,
issue.
they'll
If
come
it
back
just
and-
needs to be repaired, do we have to go out for specifications? I know the city of Elyria wants architects for
Right.
everything. So if we just
Not
need to
wants, I think
repair
they
them.
require.
It is required, and
Require.
if they'll come back and tell us, but the roofs are in such condition now that I'm comfortable, after talking to Mr. Smigala, indicating to you that they do need to be replaced. It's not just a repair. It's a replacement on those buildings.
I understand that, but I'm not sure if our budget is going to allow to replace all three.
I agree, and we need to bring you back that data. We cannot replace them, though, without your future agreement.
Okay.
You'll have to agree to the contracts to make those replacements.
So what we're doing is we're just agreeing to pay this much money to find out how much it's going to cost for each and every roof. We might only be able to afford one roof instead of three, so we don't know until we get this information.
That's my understanding. Is that correct?
This is the most we're going to pay for this service is right here. We're not
It's
going
a
to pay.
flat fee.
It's a flat fee, correct?
That's his fee.
Also move.
Okay.
Well, I have another question. Can, the TB clinic has a levy, and so does the health department. Can they assist in the cost of the replacements?
And can they? Yes. Will they? I'm not sure. You and I did have discussion on this earlier in the week, and I think I indicated to you that once we get the cost data and we're looking at how we're going to pay for this work, that I would obviously sit down and talk with them and see if I can't get some partnership arrangements where we can get some additional resources dedicated to this job, i.e. we'll get some of their money to help pay for and defray some of this cost. And I will do that, and I will do that before those contracts come back to you to fund if we decide to move forward with the projects. I'll have an answer one way or another on that. I do have one remaining issue, though, before you vote, if I may.
Well, we don't even have a second to the motion yet.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay.
There.
Now, further discussion.
Have you looked over the class action lawsuit concerning the roof on the detention home?
Yes, I've been doing some investigating on that, Mr. Cortez, and we just need to get the pertinent information to that firm, and they will file the claim, and there'll be more information coming on regarding that with the detention home.
Okay, so my understanding now is that we're going to receive some liquid damages concerning the roof that was put on there years ago because of some defects in the materials that were used. So we'll be getting some money back that we could use to offset the replacement of that roof. I don't know how long it'll take to get that money, but we're part of a larger class action suit that we're putting our paperwork in for now.
Yes, there's a possibility when this comes out in depth that the detention home roof could be replaced under that lawsuit due to the insulation failure by the manufacturer through various areas in the country. They have a class action suit. So there needs to be more study, and the claims are being filed now, and further information will be available to you.
So we're staying on top of that issue, too.
All right. And one more thing, I would like you to stay on top of the issue with the city of Elyria in regards to permit fees.
Okay.
I would like to see them reduce it to the county. I mean, we do an awfully lot, and we're always buying permits, and we're always helping them. I'd like to see that help return
You
a
know,
little bit.
Commissioner, I did have dialogue with the city administration concerning this very issue with the Justice Center. Some may be aware, some may not, that we're probably going to have in the neighborhood of $250,000 worth of permits and application fees when the Justice Center construction starts beginning in earnest in the spring. And I wasn't met with overwhelming cooperation from the city. And actually, I think the answer was a flat no when I asked if they could mitigate some of those fees since we were locating such a large facility in the downtown area and it was going to enhance the downtown area. I will once again address that issue with them, but they've been reluctant to give us any movement on that particular issue.
Thank you for raising that issue, Commissioner Vacy.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to ask if there are any more questions, but I think that concludes the discussion.
Mrs.
Call
Blair?
the roll, please. Thank you, Roxanne. Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Thank you, Ralph.
I'd like to accept on behalf of the Columbia Township trustees the improvements and maintenance bond for a period of 1 year for the Red Fern Farms No. 3 subdivision, a Rich Barron developer. Red Fern Farms No. 3 contains 23 lots. The concrete pavements and storm sewers were installed by the developer and approved by the Lorain County engineer. Water mains and hydrants were installed and approved by the Rural Water Authority. The plat of Red Fern Farms No. 3 is recorded in Plat Volume 64, page 46, in Lorain County Record of Plats as follows. A bridle path drive with a road number T-255 extending southerly from the previously completed section of Red Fern Farms No. 2, a distance of 16.99 feet or 0.249 miles in length and ending in a cul-de-sac. The Columbia Township trustees have also accepted these improvements.
Also move.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Have your choice.
Discussion?
What'd you pick?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd authorize the amendment to the partnership agreement to reflect the name change from Lorain County ETA to the Lorain County Workforce Development Agency.
Mr. Cordes?
Commissioners, this is merely a housekeeping issue with the changes that we have undertaken with the former ETA operation. After a discussion with Ms. Golsky and taking her advice, it was felt that the ETA, what's left of ETA that we're taking on board, we should call the Workforce Development Agency, the WDA. We need to change the partnership agreement that we entered into with the state a few months back to reflect now that the administrative agent is going to be the WDA, which is an agency of the Lorain County Commissioners. And once again, this is strictly a housekeeping issue so that we have our contracts straight with the state. And Ms. Golsky's here if you have any other questions on that. Oh, she was earlier.
Yeah, she's here.
Does the board have any questions?
I have
No,
none.
so moved.
It's moved by Commissioner Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Mr.
Yes.
Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the county to exercise its option to terminate a lease with First Merit Bank effective November 30th, 2001. Authorize the prosecutor's office to give appropriate notification to First Merit.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to award contract to RWL Architects Incorporated of Larry, Ohio, to perform architectural services for the Administration Building Restroom Renovation Project in the amount of $10,200, plus reimbursables not to exceed $2,000 for a total of $12,200. The City of Illyria's design review requirements are not applicable in this case.
Mr. Cordes?
Actually, over the previous few years, we've talked about starting a program where we were freshening up some of the public restrooms in the building. They've really deteriorated to a state where we need to expend some resources to bring them up to what I consider a proper level of proper standards for public use. I don't know if you have an opportunity to visit those restrooms once in a while, but they're pretty dated. And I believe, Ms. Vacy, this was one of your issues a couple of years ago, and we just never seemed to get there. So I spoke with Mr. Smigalo. He's very enthusiastic about starting this project. Obviously, it's going to be some inconvenience to some of the employees and the public as we go further in the project in the next several months once we get some engineering work done. Of course, we'll have to close some of those facilities as we do some renovations, but it's really needed in this building. So I would ask your support on this issue.
Questions of the board? Also move.
Second.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I was informed this morning that this number 18 of the awarding quote to Bopels was already included in the summary sheet for the requisitions, so we don't need
It would be a redundant vote. Just for a matter of explanation, since it's already there and we have public here, this is just some very, very needed improvements and freshening in some of the prosecutor spaces. They haven't done anything in literally decades down there, and being that they're not going to be moving for another 2 or 3 years, we really need to provide some updating and some rearranging of space so that they can squeeze a few more bodies in there, and that's what this was. And they haven't asked for anything before. We put new carpeting down there. There's been some painting, and then they needed some workstations.
Well, that's what I was a little bit concerned with. The prosecutor will be moving into the new Justice Center, and I hate for the county to put a lot of money into that area and then 2-3 years later come back and renovate it again.
Right. We haven't put a considerable amount of money in. The carpet will be reusable, and we were able to, that'll be coming before you, but it's going to be recycled content, if not completely recycled, so we can use some solid waste funds on the carpeting. We've been rather aggressive with that previous renovations. The cost on the painting was fairly nil, correct, Mr. Smigalo? We have people in-house painting?
Yes, Commissioner, we're taking part of that remodeling pretty much in-house here. The carpet will go through the recycle through solid waste. It is a recycled product of Collins Aikman. And the little bit of workstations you're talking about, they're taking a general area down there where we're taking a wall and we're increasing the area where they can put these workstations and make more use of the people in the areas to tighten them up in general, painting and cleaning the area up to spruce it up, and most of it's all done in-house.
So our people will be
Yes.
doing it?
Right, and we do have the funding for this. This will not be in any additional appropriation. We have money budgeted for this, Commissioner.
I just wanted to make sure that it's not a project that we're going to spend a lot of money in and then come back and renovate it all over again. So thank you for your assurance.
Yeah, no, they're not very extensive, just the one room they're putting the
Okay.
workstations. The rest is pretty much the way it was, so.
All right, thanks.
What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
Second? Oh, we did, excuse me.
Doesn't
We
matter,
didn't,
does it?
I wrote that down. We don't want to, I'm
need
sorry.
that.
You want to take that back? I'll take
Unmoved.
my second back.
Actually, we're just removing number 18. Let it reflect the...
We've
removal of
already
18.
approved that under the requisitions. Is that correct?
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Excuse me.
Okay, number 19, authorize the renewal of contract between the Board of Commissioners and National Health Card Systems to provide the county's prescription drug plan. Contract will be effective January 1st, 2002 for 3 years, terminating December 31st, 2004. The administration fee for this contract period will be 63 cents for 2002, 63 cents for 2003, and 70 cents for 2004 per prescription.
Mr. Cordez?
If it's okay with the board, I would rather allow Mr. Foat to speak on this. He's been the mover as he's been working on the RFPs. Jeff?
Mr. Foat, our Human Resources Director. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff Foat, Human Resources Director. Basically, this is who we're with now. We went out for a number of RFPs, and they offered us the best. They mean 63 cents is what we're paying now, so we won't have any increase for the next 2 years, and then it'll increase to 70 cents. Do you have any specific questions? Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, you answered them in that it was a renewal. We're paying 63 cents now, and there's no increase for the first 2 years.
Commissioners, may I clarify for a moment? It's not necessarily a renewal. Under the code, we have to go out every 3 years, and it's fairly ridiculous, but we have to do it. So it'll be a new contract. We're only allowed to do annual renewals up to 3 years. So this will be a whole new 3-year contract. And I know it's semantics, but just so that it reflects that this is a new contract and that we have complied with the requirements of the code to go out and seek proposals.
Thank you for that clarification, but I was interested in the fact that it's the same company with whom we're presently doing business. I think that we don't necessarily like changes of cards and stuff, so from an employee perspective, you can use the same cards you've got. That was my point. So, other questions from the board? What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the appointment of the following Workforce Investment Board members effective September 27, 2001. This will update the membership provisions established in accordance with the Workforce Investment Act legislation and act by the Commissioners, which calls for a majority membership of representatives from business in the local area. For private sector members, I'd like to appoint Sandra Kaiser from Springer Enterprises Incorporated, Clarence Ballard from M. Ballard and Associates, Stephen M. Began from ECP Corp. of Paula Case, Mark E. Mraz, physical engineer from Republic Technologies Incorporated, and the public sector member, Minnie Taylor from Volunteer Action Center.
Commissioners, I was in attendance at both of the Workforce Investment Board meetings when their membership voted to recommend these actions to the Board of Commissioners. I spoke to the chairman of that committee, and I told him that I would bring this issue forward. I'm prepared to vote for this if you are, or if you have questions, I will try to answer them.
Now, I talked with the chair, and he asked if we were going to have this on the agenda. I don't know if he was going to show up today or not, but he indicated that he might. I don't see him here, but I am prepared.
And additionally, the Workforce Investment Board is having a strategic planning session they've already held, which this board authorized. They've already held 2 of those sessions last week, and there's another 2 scheduled, I think the 3rd week in October. And I just think it would be beneficial if, in fact, we're going to appoint more members, that perhaps they could be on board for the second part of that.
So move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
Yes. I was under the understanding that we were going to revisit this board. Mr. Cortez was going to work on maybe reviewing this after we got ETA. How would be the proper word back?
Well,
Because you're looking at a board of how many people right now? 12 and 17. It's like 39 people.
it's large.
And that's the maximum that you can have.
It's 39.
Yes.
I did indicate to...
I believe.
I had indicated in previous discussion that I was looking at the various bylaws and legislation affecting the WIA board. I'm only now coming to the end of completing the reorganization of the former ETA operation, and I have not had ample available time to get to this issue. I had assumed that I would get to it after we completed the ETA reorganization, which should happen sometime next week. So I haven't quite gotten there yet.
Now, this board's responsibilities are,
Well, they make recommendations concerning the resources that we develop in the community.
not just ETA, but other resources, correct?
Correct.
That's my understanding.
Correct.
Okay.
I've attended several of the meetings, and a lot of times, a lot of people can't make it.
All right.
So I feel that they're really doing a great job. Get a lot of input. There's a lot of networking.
James Dieterle, who is the membership chairman, has, I believe, worked diligently to try to fill some of these vacancies.
Well, that's hard to do.
Well, yes, it is, especially when you're asking people to donate their time.
Correct.
And so I guess I think this is kind of a partnership, and while I don't necessarily agree with everybody, and you don't either, I think that...
You agree with everybody.
Yeah. But it is their recommendation, and absent a different recommendation,
Right.
I'm willing to accept it.
And this will keep them in compliance, because
Well,
right now they're
almost.
not in compliance.
Well, almost. We're pretty close.
They still need to appoint some more people. They're
Some more
searching.
private sector members. So if there's anyone in the audience who is a business owner who wishes to donate their time to the Workforce Investment Board, please either send your name to the commissioners and we will forward them to the Workforce Investment Board, or contact the Workforce Investment Board directly.
There's a good plug.
Well, I guess it's, I mean, this is another, we have a lot of,
Board appointments.
yes,
Yeah.
and so,
Oh, this is
okay.
good.
So, we ready to vote?
Yes.
You have more questions?
Madam Clerk?
Madam
Mrs.
Clerk?
Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Based upon the report prepared and submitted and recommendation by K.E. McCartney and Associates Incorporated from their Mansfield, Elyria offices, and as discussed in the Commissioner's Administrative Briefing of Tuesday, September 18, 2001, the following action is requested. To increase the county sewer rate for the 6th wastewater treatment plants in Tanglewood and Oberlin Road areas to a fee of $25.40 per month, with an automatic 4% annual increase for 2002 through 2005 due to anticipated increases in the cost of operation, maintenance, and repair. Tanglewood and Oberlin Road rate is a proportional rate, whereas the 6 wastewater treatment plants rate is a flat fee.
Mr. Cortez, would you like to outline this issue, please?
For those who were not in attendance at our administrative session last Tuesday, this issue was undertaken for discussion by the tree commissioners with the sanitary engineers department in attendance. Some time ago, the board felt compelled to place responsibility for the sanitary engineers department under my auspices. One of the things that I have been doing with Mr. Carney is looking at some of the issues affecting that department. Two issues that came very quickly out of the discussions I had with him was that we were running a deficit on our wastewater treatment plants, the 6 that we have, and that the department was suffering from a lack of adequate funding. I also had discussions with Mr. Carney with various commissioners in attendance individually to go over some of those issues. Upon concluding those discussions, I asked that Mr. Carney have a survey completed and make recommendations concerning adequate rates that needed to be charged to make the plants self-sufficient, and also what type of funding we would need to be able to start working towards some definable goals in the department. Those recommendations came, and we worked off of those recommendations last Tuesday. The outcome is these issues that are presented before you now. Some of them are going to require one option or another. And it's a little bit of an unusual resolution, but I did not want to, you were not able to vote last Tuesday, so I was not able to gain a real understanding of the desire of the board of the group, so I've put them together here, and you'll have to have some discussion on which one is more agreeable to you.
Thank you. I'll just start the discussion by suggesting that the 4% annual increase perhaps could be, I would suggest that we modify the wording and have that be tied to the CPI annually, and then round it to the next whole dollar, rather than just a flat 4%.
Saying round it up to the next whole dollar?
Yes, or if it's below, like it's 3.5, then 3.5 above to 4. If it's below 3.5 to 3.
Commissioner, do you want to round the CPI to the whole, or do you want to round the dollar of the rate to the whole?
Now that's a technical question. Now, what do I
think it would be more agreeable if you just rounded the CPI and then we based the rate off of whether it's 3 or 4. If it's 3.6, it goes to 4. If it's 3.4, it goes to 3.
Okay.
It's 3.5?
It goes to 4.
Okay.
3.5 and above is 4. Below 3.5 is 3.
Try to stump them once in a while, you know?
So that would be my suggestion.
You're looking at running on a CPI, but
the percentage of the annual increase.
when's the annual date going to be then? Is it going to be when we vote on it, or in November, December?
No, I think these rates should be effective probably the first of the years to give us an annual.
I think that would
Start in
be
January?
that would be my recommendation also.
So January of '02?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I think backdating it to '01 would probably be too much to ask for.
No, I don't think we can do that. I don't think
I'm
that's
just-
appropriate.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No. So that's all this one is talking about, is how we're going to, right now these people are paying about $20 a month. It's costing the county $25.40 per month to operate the sewers. And so this will get this unit to be self-sufficient, correct? That's what we're doing on this one right here before we go to the next one.
That is my understanding, Commissioner.
Okay, just want to make sure. And then we're also, oh, wait a minute, that's down here, I guess, number 23. I want to make sure that the funds we're not commingling. That's going to be...
We'll have 3 separate
Okay,
resolutions.
okay.
Okay, and there was some talk about whether or not we should have a public hearing, and then I believe Roxanne talked with the engineer, and he felt it wasn't necessary.
That is also my understanding that a public hearing is not required for this action, Commissioner.
Okay. So you like the CPI instead of the 4%? And that would be for years 2002, 3, 4, and 5?
No, well, we're starting this rate at $25.40 for the year 2002.
Okay,
So it
so-
probably should read 2003, should it
Okay.
not?
I just want to make sure.
Yes, with that modification, we should go for 2003 through 2005.
Okay, so it doesn't start until 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then what happens after that? It comes back on the table and we discuss it?
You get to discuss this issue again in a few years, yes.
Okay. Now, what happens if, let's say it's year 2004, and we really don't need an increase, or is that something that we can revisit?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can revisit that and modify this resolution.
Okay.
Other questions?
Excuse me.
Just 1 minute, please,
Sure.
Elizabeth.
I don't have
Does
any
the board have any other
No, I
questions?
don't have any.
Okay, so if it's worded like, okay, it's going to be worded so that we increase the county sewer rate for the 6 wastewater treatment plants. We're going to add in the
And Tanglewood and Overland
Tanglewood and
Road.
Overland Road areas
Okay.
to a fee of $25.44 per month with an automatic, what's that? Now, what are we going to put in there? CPI?
An automatic percentage increase.
Based
Automatic-
upon CPI.
Based upon the CPI, okay.
Now-
For 2003 through 2005,
Right. Let
and
me...
then the rest stays the same. That's the resolution.
Well,
That's the resolution.
I need to complicate it. I'm sorry, but I need to complicate it. There's various CPIs out there, and I'm just thinking right here. You got your local CPI, you got the national CPI. We need to select an indicator.
Which one's published in, use the Wall Street Journal? That way you have to go out and buy one.
We get that in the, we subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. It
Which
goes
means
to our
you're using a
budget
national
department.
method, or what can we use? If we use something locally, we have to use a newspaper, what publishes
We can
it.
use the
Use a
CPI
plan.
as, for the year as published in the Wall Street Journal. That's fine.
Or local, whatever, if you guys want to go national or if you want to go local.
I don't have a position on it as long as I know what we're using so it doesn't become a debated issue next year.
What is your recommendation?
National.
Okay, so based upon the CPI as published in the Wall Street Journal. And is there a time frame we need that, like when it's published? Or that's just going to be an annual rating we're looking at, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Published in the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal. Then the rest of the paragraph would read, the rest would be unchanged. So that's the sentence that's changed.
Correct.
What I just said, so moved. If you
Is there
got
a
that.
second?
Second.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Any more
Now-
discussion?
Now it's
Yes.
discussion time.
Elizabeth, I think are we through discussing here?
Well, I'm sure we'll talk some more. I'm sure.
Okay, but, well, I wanted to finish the board's discussion, open it up to a public question. Elizabeth
Thank you. I
Rummix.
wasn't sure you had seen me come here because you were busy discussing.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Rummix, RUMICS, Oberlin. As a result of attending these meetings, I have learned more about sewers than I knew there was to know, and I'm beginning to understand some things about sewers even. So I have simply a question. Who pays this county sewer rate? Is it an organization, a company, individuals, the county itself, townships, or whom?
Mr. Cortez?
These are individuals. On the package plants, these are for small residential developments that were put into place throughout the 60s. Some of them service anywhere from 11 up to a few hundred end users, so they vary greatly in size. As far as the Oberlin Road and sewer goes, I don't know if there's any businesses located up there, but there's not substantial development up in that area other than residential. So I would assume that that's mostly residential also. Tanglewood is also a residential development area. So I don't think there's any commercial entities located along those sewer lines, but definitely not in the package plants.
I can name them for you. Brentwood, Columbia West River, Crest Haven, Eaton Homes, Plum Creek, and Westview. Those are the 6.
And to continue with your question is who's paying for it? The whole county basically was paying for it before because we were running about $70,000 a year in a deficit, which means everybody was paying for it. Now the people, yeah, a portion of it. So now it's going to be basically, it's something that's equitable. You have 1,100 people using the service. It's costing $26.40 just to operate that service. And so therefore now basically the people using this system will pay for the system. So that's step one. The next two will probably be more fun to discuss.
Other questions? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Second item, in order to eliminate the wastewater treatment plants wherever practical, additional funding for planning and implementation is required. Action is requested on one of the 2 following options. First option A, to increase rates an additional $3.01 per month for the customer, or B, provide $50,000 per year for 5 years from the general fund to pay for planning.
Mr. Cortez?
Okay, the second issue that I told you became apparent to me upon working with the Sanitary Engineers Department was that we lacked adequate funding for planning and future desires of this board on how to deal with your department there. We definitely need to start looking at moving away from the package plans and into some more regional sewer options as far as the discharge of flow from those plants go. There's a cost associated with that. There's 2 methodologies that have been presented to you to arrive at the revenue necessary for that planning for the board to consider those options. and whatever the pleasure of the board is, this is necessary. I'm not really explaining well, and I apologize, but we need money to be able to plan for the elimination of the 6 package plants. It needs to be done, and it's going to take some years to do it.
Okay, it was my understanding from the meeting that we had that K.E. McCartney was going to be hired to put a plan together, and the $50,000 was a part of their fees or all their fee or whatever, but we were going to hire a firm to start a plan. My problem with that is I think it's putting the cart before the horse, because I don't want to see anything happen here like we had in Amherst. And I think what we should do is go to the council people first, get a tentative agreement that they'll accept the effluent, because the bottom line is that effluent's going to have to go somewhere if we close these plants down. And I think we should have a tentative agreement that these municipalities will accept the effluent before we go to a firm and spend $50,000 for a plan, because we know that effluent's going to have to go, we know what direction it's going to have to go in, and what communities we have to approach to see if they'll accept it.
I agree with you, Commissioner, and we do have some tentative agreements in place. Commissioner Moore was...
Well, no, wait, can you wait? That's not how I took that meeting on Tuesday. So that's not how I took it. I took this as these package plants need to be updated. That's how I took it. I took it that these package plants are not up to code. The EPA is not happy with these package plants, and I think we spent 2 hours discussing trying to simplify this resolution so that we could have a discussion. And my understanding was step 1 was to get you as kind of the old pay-as-you-go, cover the expenses. Step 2 now is we have issues on the table, and I don't think it's something we're going to be able to resolve today, but those issues are what to do with 6 package plants. Do we hand them over to certain individuals? Do we hand them over to groups? Do we hand them over to the cities? We don't know. But I do know this. I'm not willing to support a 5-year $50,000 coming out of the general fund. I mean, if we need money now to get some of these package plants up and make sure they're not polluting the environment and doing what they're doing, I don't mind. That's good for today, I think, to get the ball rolling, so at least we can make sure that we're healthy.
But if you read that,
but to sit there and read, I know. Well, we're just discussing.
It talks about funding for planning.
To pay for planning. Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Planning is you're planning where, and I heard, or
I don't see Kenny's not here either.
My sense of the meeting was that we're talking about closing those plants, or I know we have been in the past, and.
Well, that's the discussion for the future. I was under this is my understanding, which is I thought we needed some funds to correct some of these package plants.
Both issues, Commissioner. You're both correct. Okay?
We're always both correct when you're talking.
But to correct that, I think we just increased the fees to do some work on the plants.
No, that's well, okay, we haven't talked about number A. Number A is basically saying have the sewer department charge an extra. We just increased the rates from $20 to $25.40.
Right.
If we don't want to take $50,000 out of our general fund to update these systems, then let's make the customers do it and charge them another $3.01 per month. That's kind of what I see A and B as. Now, either we're going to have these customers pay for it for maybe, I don't want to, I mean, it's not their fault that nobody's been updating these package plants for 30 years. Or I think they're going to get hit enough with a $6. I mean, that's like, what, a 30% increase. And,
it's substantial.
I know, it's substantial. And I'm looking at it this way, we have to, there's more discussion that's going to be coming down on this, whether or not we're going to hand over. I think you had that list of the names.
Let me also explain the funding. I understand what Commissioner Moore is going in, and we could make this an annual review on the $50,000. So you don't have to make a long-term commitment. You can incrementally make a commitment. That's number one. Number two, there are problems with the package plants, and we are dealing with those, and we do have some EPA issues that are being dealt with. So that's also a correct issue. As far as where the waste from these plants could go, some of our package plants are in service areas. One of them, I'm trying to think of the one that's in the Elyria service area.
Crest Haven.
Crest
Lurie
Haven
Township,
already lies,
north.
right, already lies in the Elyria service
And
area.
Brentwood Lake to the south.
Right,
as well.
so those plants already are in service areas where we have agreements for that area.
No, not Brentwood, though.
Now Brentwood, just
Well,
Crest Haven?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse the issue. They're under Illyria's service area.
Right. So, that's a service area that's been designated for Elyria to service. So, I mean, we're already part of the way there. We've also...
Well, we're part of the way there, but maybe, there's still negotiations that we're going to have to do that will help benefit the county. I mean, this is basically, I'm looking at it this way. We have some package plans we have to deal with.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's here, it sounds like, to discuss whether or not, which ones are important and which ones are, or how much it's going to cost.
Well, that's going to come to you in the future. That's what we need to plan for.
But what do you, I mean, how much do you need for a plan then? I mean, I'm looking at what we did earlier with Arkinetics, where we actually went out for bids and said for $15,000 we're going to tell us we're going to go. And what did Kate, I mean, help me out, because it was like last Tuesday when we talked. Was K&W was supposed to get the $50,000? Is that how you took it?
That's not how,
Mr. Vassy?
I got to be honest with you, that's not how I took it.
See, I looked at it this way. I looked at it as $50,000 that they're going to need actually to give the sanitary department full range to do what they have to do. That's how I saw it.
No, I was under the understanding that McCartney and Associates was going to put a plan together, and we were going to close these plants eventually within 10 years, close these plants down, and the effluent would go to either North Ridgeville or Lorain or Elyria or North Olmsted, wherever. But if that's the case, then we should have a tentative agreement, because otherwise we're going to run into what we do with Lorain. Here we've got a line in the ground, nowhere to go.
Commissioner, I can assure you that
And a plan sitting on the
I can
shelf.
assure you that, while I have to bear the burden of that responsibility, we're not putting any lines in without any signed agreement.
I understand that, but we're putting a plan together, and if that's what this means, that we're going to put a plan together, I don't want to see a plan sitting on the shelf. I would like a tentative agreement with whatever communities that affluent is going to, or intended to go to, that they agree that they will accept the affluent before we put a plan together and spend $50,000. When we spend that $50,000, if it comes from the general fund, every person that pays tax in Lorain County is going to pay for a sewer for these areas. And I don't know how many people want to pay for the sewer that they have in their home if they live in Elyria or Lorain, and then help to pay for another sewer for somebody else. I don't think that that's going to fly. And when you're talking about maintenance, that $50,000 is, according to what we just did, I don't believe is for maintenance, because item 22 says operation and maintenance and repair is going to come out of that increase that we just did.
I didn't understand that last comment, Mary Jo.
It says right here in item 21 on the agenda.
Okay.
That increase that we just increased the fees, that is for in the cost of operation. Well, let me read from the beginning here.
Okay, well, I see where you're going.
Operation, maintenance, and repair.
Those are the existing plants. That's
right.
The current operation, the way they're functioning
Right.
today. I think the other issue, which is in item number 22, is do we want to begin the planning process for looking at the elimination of these plants? But I think we all have different ideas and questions, but I don't think it's just for the elimination of these plants, because in past discussions that I've had with the city of Elyria, and I believe others have had too, it's not just those that are in the Elyria service area. It's not just those plants that we're talking about, but it's also providing sewer service to a bigger area. And if we're talking about a bigger area, that's not just benefiting these 1,100 people. It's a benefit to a larger area who might need a sanitary sewer service.
Within that area, though, say if
yeah,
it's
but-
Carlisle Township or whatever plant it
Right,
is.
but not just specifically those people, a
Right.
bigger area.
It would increase the use, the residents in that area.
Correct. And maybe it might stop some of these annexations. But there's,
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
there's issues, there's a lot more bigger issues here. Is this something that has to be done today, do you think? Or is this something that, because I would have thought the sanitary engineer would have been here to help us with this discussion.
Another thing too, excuse me, but I think that we need to talk with the townships
Well, I think-
and Lorco.
Right.
I
Well,
think we
Lorco sent us a letter, which is, everybody's got one of these, is number 4. Basically, they wanted us to hold off for 30 days. I don't think it mattered on the actual fees, but when I figured, number 21, but number 23, I can see why they'd want to come and participate. Maybe they have a better way of doing this, I don't know. That was one of the discussions on Tuesday that we had in our open administrative meeting, which was, what are we going to do with some of these plants? We might have to pass, maybe we might take the Eaton Township plant and maybe work something out with Lorco and the townships. Maybe we might, maybe we won't. That's not I didn't think that's what this discussion was about. I thought we were going to talk about first is, are the customers going to pay for this, or are we going to use a general fund?
Correct. Commissioners, I understand all the concerns here, and obviously, it's your department, how you want to fund it is your prerogative. But when you go to an entity and you're talking about whether they'll service an area or whether they'll take flow from a package plant, there has to be some preliminary work. That is the topography, whether it's going to be gravity fed, whether it's going to have pumping stations, what's the most economical route to get it. Without doing the actual engineering work, though, somebody has to do that work. They're just not going to say, sure, we'll take flow from X.
Well, we know. I mean, the engineer just as much as indicated to us at the last meeting that it's going to be a certain area that they're going to have to accept the effluent from. I disagree with that. I believe that we have to have the agreements first.
I'd just like to comment, I think this is another one of those areas of which comes first, the chicken or the egg, and I think we deal with those regularly. I think, is Ron Twining here today? Yes, he sure is.
No.
As I'm reflecting on your comments, I'm thinking that maybe it wasn't. Was it one of the recommendations of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan study that we, in fact, develop some kind of a general sewer plan for Lorain County?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so we paid $90,000 to a consultant to come in and put together a comprehensive land use plan for Lorain County, and Mr. Twining and his department worked with the consultant, and they went out into those communities and they got a lot of feedback. It took them a year and a half, and they came back and they made specific recommendations to the Board of Commissioners. And one of the recommendations was, Ron, can you identify exactly what the recommendation was? But I think it speaks to this issue that we're talking about this morning.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Ron Twining, Director of Community Development Department. That's T-W-I-N-I-N-G. I would agree with the comments and the direction that the Commissioners appear to be headed. The County Comprehensive Land Use Plan, which was approved by the Commissioners in July of 2000, did in fact determine that the #1 priority coming out of that land use plan was dealing with the issue of sanitary sewage throughout the county, primarily in the unincorporated area where you have direct impact, and closely behind that and associated with that, tied together with that, was also the issue of storm water management. Those two issues, both from the consultant standpoint and from what we heard from the citizens, elected, appointed officials, those two issues, storm sewers and water sewer, and developing a management plan and strategy was the clearly, hands down, the #1 concern here in Lorain County.
I still think we need cooperation with those communities that have to accept that effluent, unless we want to put another big, huge old plant in somewhere to do it ourselves.
I don't think that we have the ability to do that. I don't think the EPA will allow that if we want to have that discussion.
Well,
I would agree that a plan would bring all entities together to have that discussion. It's a public process. Whether it can be implemented that way or not could be determined. But
Why
I
do
do
you
think
need a
that
plan?
you need to bring the people together and put the plan in place. My own personal and professional opinion is you probably, in this particular case, have to put together the plan before you can put in place agreements with cities to accept the effluent.
bottom line is we don't have a plan here at all since,
Right.
I think, 1961. So if this resolution said we were going to hire a firm to go out and maybe do an RFP to get a plan on what we're going to execute, then that's fine. I don't think that's not how this resolution reads.
Excuse me, we have a plan, okay? We have the North Ridgeville Eaton plan. We spent $800,000 on it. Where is it? It's still sitting on the shelf
Oh, no,
because
it's
we
not,
couldn't get an
Commissioner
agreement
Vacy. Oh, no, it's
with
not.
North Ridgeville.
That
We sold a
statement is
part of
only
it.
partially correct.
I'm not going to pay 800 grand for a plan. I just want to know whether or not, if this is, in fact, what are we looking to do? I didn't think we were, well, we're talking about two different things, it sounds like to me. We're
Okay,
talking
well-
about a plan, and we're talking about whether or not to update.
Let me try to reinvigorate
Thank you,
this.
thank you. You know what?
Nothing can be expended from this department without coming back to this board, okay? So if the funding is put there, that'll give us some idea of the ability to work towards some goals. But before we can expend those funds, it's going to have to come back to this board for a resolution. You're merely appropriating money to this department. You are the final agreeer, though, to expending those funds. That just gives us something to start working off of. If you don't like what they bring back to you, you don't have to pay for it. You
So
look
who's,
confused.
okay, then where's the fund, where's this 50,000 going to go to?
It'll go into the sanitary engineers fund, but expenditures from that fund come before this board.
But isn't it,
Is that not correct, Mr. Rokasi, or am I off the beaten path?
John, please, thank you.
Getting our turns.
All getting our exercise.
wait till purchasing gets in there.
Good morning, John Rokasi, County Budget Director. I think what's important here on the fiscal aspect is the $50,000 going to be appropriated. If it's appropriated, it doesn't necessarily have to be spent because appropriation is earmarking money. So it could be distinguished if the $50,000 is being set aside, and as Mr. Cordes said, then the expenditures would come up against that appropriation. So you may want to look at that as either appropriation being held to spend against, or actually appropriating and authorizing expenditures. There's at least two ways to look at that.
So if we were just to authorize the appropriation, that would still give this board control on how, and we can always say, well, we're not going to spend the money.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Well, you can line item the issues that come before you, so you have some greater control over those issues.
I think that would be better than passing $3 more onto a customer that we just upped $6 a month on. Because then we might not have to do this, right? That's my understanding?
Correct.
Because trying to take, you know, I think that's an accounting nightmare if we were to charge everybody $3 a month more and then decided that we didn't really need the funds.
Well, not only that, but I think that what it appears to me is we're talking about charging 1,100 people $3 and more when our bigger plan is to address the needs of more than just 1,100
Correct.
people.
Okay.
So I'm not in favor of increasing the rates to the existing customers by another $3.01 by process of elimination. I am not in favor of that.
Okay, well,
So-
I'm not in favor of that today, because I'm just saying that I'm not in favor of that today. And by what I'm meaning is, because I don't think we have enough information. I mean, I don't mind appropriating 50,000, not 250,000, just to appropriate and find out what we may need. And then I think the discussion then becomes, we might have to revisit A and B again. That's how I see it.
Commissioners, this is the first step in
Exactly.
a long process to reestablish initiatives in our sanitary engineers department. You know, these things have been lagging for some time, and we need to have more discussions on this. We probably need to have, as we said at our administrative session, we probably need to have more of those sessions as we come up with the desires and formulate some strategic plans from the board's initiatives and Mr. Carney's initiatives, so we come up with some things. I understand Ms. Vacy's concerns. They're valid, and I understand the reluctance of the board to want to place taxpayers' money into this department without getting any results. The results that we get will be the desires of this board, and we will have more meetings on this issue as things improve in that department.
It's okay, if we appropriate the 50, does that get the ball moving so that we can have more discussion?
Yes, sir.
Does that make,
And that's
does that
to
make
pay
sense?
for planning?
Well, no, I think we're just going to appropriate and then let, I think, Mr. Cordes and work with
We need to
county
come-
engineer and come back and say, okay, it's going to be for planning, this, I mean, have it all itemized out, and then we can have another discussion, correct?
Yes, we bring it back for discussion
Okay, we all on
points,
the same page.
and then see what the board's desires are. We'll make some recommendations, take some recommendations, and we'll consensus build and come to a conclusion on a plan that everybody can live with.
Can we, would you agree on a meeting, another meeting, with, and include some of the township trustees, whoever wants to be there, or at least the ones that are within these package plant areas, the engineer and Lorco?
I think if we appropriate the money, I'm sure, instead of having a meeting here, we'll probably have to have another presentation in one of our, on the first or third Tuesday of every month at 9:30 a.m., our public meetings, and maybe have that like we did last time. Have that again, maybe he can come back and say, okay, here's what we talked about, we have the money appropriated, and then maybe have some more information, because that's what this is next, is we need to gather more information, it sounds like.
Yes.
This is just a starting point. This
Okay.
is not an ending point, I don't think.
Okay. Well, the way the resolution looked like it was. So
Well, I
didn't
think
know.
it was put here for discussion,
Okay.
and there are two options on number 22. And it appears to me that we're discussing the second option, which would be the appropriation of $50,000. Now, it says for 5 years, so I think I'm hearing the board say that we're talking about appropriating
Just
$50,000 for the year 2001. Now,
A total
Yes.
of $250,000
No, we're
to
just.
pay for plans?
No, we're just going to go provide 50, this is how I would see the resolution. How's this? Let me see if I can try this. I feel as if we should appropriate $50,000 for year 2001 in order to eliminate the wastewater treatment plants wherever practical,
I think it's...
and for
David,
planning and implementation, or just planning, that's it,
Why
don't
don't
you
you
think?
just say planning?
Just planning?
It would...
What, 2 resolutions?
I don't mean to correct you, Commissioner, but
Oh, you do all the time. That's okay.
2001 is pretty much exhausted. I mean...
Well, then just
we're not
appropriate
gonna-
it, let's just appropriate, take out 2001.
I think we need to do it for 2002. I don't know how much work would get done. You know, we only got we got a quarter left in this year, and I would think that we're probably, if we're going to start this right, let's start it, you know, for a complete year.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter, we're not going to pay for it anyway until they come back and we have discussions, so this
I
might
just
not
don't
even
want to have to
happen.
come back here in January and start all over again.
I'm just wondering, do we even need to do a $50,000 because we're not going to spend it, does it matter?
Well, I'm certainly hoping you're going to expend it. I just hope it's expended in ways that the board finds appropriate and desirable. It's not my goal to ask you for $50,000 and then sit here and tell you, no, we're not going to spend it, Commissioner, and then we've just mooted the whole last 20 minutes.
So how would you see that?
We need to develop some plans on how we're going to handle the package plants, whether they go to Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, North Ridgeville, Lorain, Walco, whoever has the ability to take the flow from those plants and what's the most cost-effective means of doing so. We need to start planning to do that. We need to start moving away from these package plants. That could take anywhere from 5 to 12 years to do.
And you just said it, we need to move them to one of those areas, right?
Yes.
So why shouldn't we have agreements with them that they're going to accept it, or a tentative agreement?
And I agreed with you that we need to have those agreements.
Before we put a plan together, we already know that they have to go, in what direction they have to go in.
I'm not sure that we know that.
I thought I heard you just say, you know, it has to go
No, we
like...
listed, we don't know if
It
we
has to
North
go
Ridgeville?
somewhere.
We
I
have
listed
to
We
all
only
the-
have so many plants in Lorain County that can accept it.
know which agencies, Lorical might want to take all of them. That's a whole nother discussion. So I'm saying, you need, okay, well, let me get this again. You need marching orders? Is that what I'm hearing? Would you say
I don't think
that?
we're ready for those marching orders.
No, marching orders on the,
I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? I'll get more definitive information on what we're going to do.
Please.
Let me ask that this issue be tabled for 2 weeks.
could have done that 20
Thank
minutes
you.
ago.
Well, I think the discussion was healthy, though.
Oh, I
I
think so.
really do.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so what we're doing then is pretty much what Lorical asked, so, which is good, because then we get more participation. We might not even be back here to do this in a meeting, we might end up doing this in our open public meetings, right? So
No,
more people can
Commissioner,
show up?
You're not allowed to vote on this issue in your open public.
Okay, not vote, but get more information,
No, they're
correct?
not open public meetings. If we're going to talk about things, let's give them their proper terminology, an
Okay.
open administrative
There we go.
section.
Thank you. Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank
Thank
you. Okay, so we're going
We're
to
gonna table.
hold item number 22. Okay, we're just going to hold it.
Hold,
All right?
For 2
and-
weeks?
And Commissioner Cordes, Mr. Cordes has asked for 2 weeks, okay?
you didn't say that.
I didn't say that, okay? This is a good morning. So in 2 weeks, you're going to come back to us, and we're going to discuss this issue again, right?
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, would you move to item 23 then?
Okay, and that would read, consolidate all sewer accounts into one integrated fund, thereby allowing flexibility in the use of user fees collected.
Okay. Now, I think that this was part of the recommendation that was made to us
By the sanitary?
by the sanitary engineer. Mr. Cordes?
Currently, we account for all collected services, the fees for services individually. Under the code, we're allowed to consider them in the aggregate and treat them as such, and that makes it a lot easier to run the department and to fund the department. It's very permissible under the code, and we're asking that the board allow us to do this. We do need a resolution to do that.
Okay.
So move.
Second?
Any more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
That one was quick.
It's good, I didn't have anything left after the last one.
Okay. Comments, Mr. Cordes?
I have a couple of quick issues. I was contacted yesterday by Sally Pack. We have a grant for criminal history online access to identify criminals while they're being booked. We have to spend some of that grant money by Friday. I'm passing a PO to the board now where they're asking to spend the remaining $10,000. It just came to her that she had to have these expenditures done by this Friday. This is from Ron Nabokowski's department. If we don't spend these funds, we lose them on Friday.
Is that a state
It's grant, right, it's grant money.
The purchase order is from Henshin and Associates. It's to create separate files for Lorain, Muni, Vermilion, Avon Lake Muni, and it is Lorain County's responsibility to provide communication line for file transfer, develop codes that satisfy criminal tracks, .com spec, document, revision. Code to be installed in Lorain, Avon Lake, Vermilion. Cost not to exceed $19,000, and this purchase order is for 10. That's what's left in that account, is that it?
That's correct, Commissioner. It's a use it or lose it situation.
And what you mean by use or lose is these grants either come from the state or the federal government, and they're brought down to the local level. And if we don't use the total amount that they allow us to use, it goes back either to the state or the federal money, and that is what Jim means, that we'll use it or lose it. So it's preferable that we use it at the local level. So I would so move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
Yes. How come we're looking to spend 10,000, but the cost is 19,000? Everything I'm seeing here, does that mean we're going to have to come, they're going to come back and spend the other 9?
No, my understanding is that we're only approving the $10,000 from the grant money. If they need additional appropriation, they're going to have to come back with a different contract, Commissioner. We're not agreeing to that. You're only agreeing to the $10,000 of the grant money.
Yeah, but this, the way this is itemized, the way it's set up, it's just...
It says cost not to exceed $19,000. Does that...
Where's the other 9,000 going to come from?
Mr. Nabokowski's funds.
Okay, that's all you had to say.
Okay.
He may not know that yet, but it's going to.
I think you'll know now.
Can he use those funds for that?
We have ways of making sure that he can use those funds. We've just recently done that.
Okay, do we want to make that part of the approval process, that this is the only amount we're considering?
The purchase order is for $10,000.
Right.
That's true, so just deal with that, and then we'll deal with the rest when he comes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
I see now.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
You have more.
The next issue I'm passing to you is a very sorry sort of affair of the raining inside our emergency backup 911 facility. We've had some roof damage out there. We need to replace the roof. There's 2 quotes there. It's still raining in the building. We've lost some equipment. I need to get this company out. It's under the bid requirement, it's $14,000. I simply need a agreement on the purchase order. We'll be paying for $7,000 from the Golden Acres Fund because it's their building, and $7,000 from the E911 Fund for a 50-50 split to replace the roof over the backup PSAP out in Amherst.
Run that by me again. It's their building, they'll pay how much?
Half.
Oh, we're gonna-
It's a $14,000 job, they're paying 7, and 911's paying the other 7?
Correct.
And it looks like it's a local company.
Correct.
Who is it?
I think it's a Coates, was the one Coates that they took? They're both local.
Did you had quotes, I take it?
Yes.
Humphrey Roofing Inc.
Humphrey, okay. Humphrey and Coates quoted. Humphreys is the one that was the
That's the one I
lowest.
see sitting here, so.
Mr. Smigala?
Yes, Commissioners, 911 contacted me earlier in the week about that problem that they had out there, and they asked me for who I'd recommend, and I used our local contractors who've done various roof replacements for us on our buildings, and Mr. Coates and Mr. Pumphrey were eager to respond to them with their dilemma, and that's where that lays there.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay?
This is not to exceed 14,000, so it could come in less.
That's correct. And, you know, Commissioner, we could have, we thought about handling this under an emergency PO requirement and just going ahead, but it was only another day to the board meeting, so we just decided to bring it up to the board.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy, excuse me.
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
That concludes my items for this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Flanagan.
No reports this morning.
Thank you, Bob.
Commissioners report.
Commissioner Vacy?
Yeah, I would just like to give a little report on the Save Well program, which is the free prescription card for Lorain County residents. It's growing every day, and we now have about 2,000 residents, we have 2,001 residents that benefit from the program. And I would like to recognize the fact that so many times we get letters from other departments commending our people, like the maintenance department, the budget department, the computer department, planning, purchasing, and you know, a lot of times these people just don't get that little pat on the back that they should deserve. And I'd like to, even the sheriff today, I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the board. And also, I was invited to serve as a member of the National Association of Counties, Naco, Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee. And Madam Clerk, I have the letter and a news release that they sent. And I'd like to have you read it as soon as I find it.
From Naco to Mary Jo. It's my pleasure to invite you to serve as a member of the National Association of Counties Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee. You will serve through July 2002. NACO's strength is in its committees, and that strength is reflected in the dedication that I see throughout our steering committee, standing, and ad hoc committee structure. I'm truly excited about our steering committee leadership and the opportunity that awaits us this year. And I'm confident that this steering committee team, together with our excellent staff, will ensure that we will fully address those crucial issues that will have a long-term impact on local government. The full committee will meet in Washington, D.C. at the NACO Legislative Conference, March 1st through 5th, 2002, and at the annual conference in New Orleans Parish, New Orleans, Louisiana, July 12th through 16th, 2002. In addition to attending conference meetings, I will be calling on steering committees to take a leading role in increasing grassroots involvement in NACO lobbying efforts. I really want to get more of the steering committee members involved in our grassroots efforts. Your leadership in this area will be greatly appreciated. It is going to be a great year for NACO, and it will be my pleasure to work with you. If you have questions about specific issues or operations of the committee, please contact Stephanie Osborne at 202-942-4269. NACO staff, contact for the Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee. Sincerely, Javier Gonzalez, NACO President.
There's the news release behind it, I think.
The news release reads, for immediate release, September 19th, 2001, Mary Jo Vacy appointed to the National Steering Committee. Washington, D.C. Lorain County, Ohio. County Commissioner Mayor Joe Vassy has recently been named a member of the National Association of Counties Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee by Naco President Xavier Gonzalez. Naco's 11 steering committees from the policy-making arm of the association. Each committee is comprised of approximately 60 to 100 county officials who meet several times during the year to examine issues critical to local government. The Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee focuses on air, water, and noise pollution control, solid and hazardous waste management and disposal, the preservation and proper utilization of water resources, energy, and the use of land resources, including comprehensive planning, coastal zone management, growth management, energy facilities, sitting, and recreation. The steering committee's recommendations on legislative policies and goals are presented to NACO's membership during the association's annual conference. If approved, the recommendations become part of the American County Platform, which is the basis of NACO's efforts in representing counties before Congress and the White House.
And that's all I have yet. You can have that for
report.
file.
Thank you, and congratulations, Commissioner
Congratulations.
Vacy.
Thanks.
I think that's very, very worthwhile for Lorain County specifically.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moore?
I'd just like to piggyback what Commissioner Vassy's doing with the memo we received regarding Ron Twining's department, regarding how we're the first county look at these, in the state of Ohio to get the erosion loan program. We received over $264,000. I just want to commend you and your staff for, again, being the leader in the state of Ohio and getting. I hear you're getting a lot of calls from other counties now that they saw that it could be done. So congratulations and to your staff.
Thank you.
So it's number 17 on those who have the agenda. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. I'll just expand on what you said. In the ODNR July 2000 newsletter, there was an article that addressed exactly what you have just said, that low-interest loans for property owners are available. Did you mention the amount, $264,000? So I think that is a real asset to Lorain County, and it kind of fits in with some of the things that Commissioner Vacy announced about coastal. One of the things that was mentioned in that news release dealt with coastal erosion, I believe. So it appears to me Lorain County's ahead of the game. Congratulations again. Madam Clerk?
Okay. On our old business, I had just have notation as a reminder that there is a scheduled administrative briefing on Tuesday, October 2nd, 2001 at 9:30 a.m. here in the public hearing room. Any other old business?
I won't be attending that meeting, so.
Yes, I just want to bring this up too. I almost forgot, but I talked with Larry Long, and I'm going to continue the discussion with him from the County Commissioners Association of the State of Ohio. And I've always been concerned that the federal government will fund the transit system to update their buses, upgrade them, but yet they don't allow us any money for maintenance and operation. So I talked with Larry, and we're going to see, he's going to review the issue, and then we'll have some further discussion and maybe bring this up with the county commissioners throughout the state to find out if they have the same problems we do. Then we'll go to the federal level and tell them to make some changes, and also at the state to allow us to use some of that money, hopefully for maintenance and operation of those buses, rather than to continue to use the county general fund money. So that's one of the issues that I brought up over there, and hopefully we can do something with it. And maybe we can get some other funding too.
Regarding the, thank you, Commissioner Vacy. Regarding the administrative briefing on October the 2nd, if Commissioner Moore is going to be absent, my preference would be that we have a full board for these administrative briefings, because if we do not, then I think we miss the benefit of all hearing the same information. So I would like to suggest, if Commissioner Moore is going to be absent, that we not have that meeting. Is that agreeable with you?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so then...
How about October 4th?
Well, are you going to be gone then, too?
Yeah, I'm out.
Well, you didn't say that. You only said you were going to be gone on the 2nd.
Because I'm not going to be here, but I'm sure.
Oh, okay, no,
I'm giving you a heads up. I thought you knew I wasn't going to be here.
Oh, I don't even know where I'm going to be. How would I know where you're going to be?
Well, we were talking, that was a couple weeks ago when we were talking
Okay,
about it.
so you're
About the
going to be
annexation.
absent on October the 4th?
Yeah, can
also.
I have those days off? Is it okay?
Oh, you're going to be gone all next
Yeah,
week?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know about canceling the meeting.
Okay, no, I'm just letting you know.
But I appreciate that. But what is your pleasure, Commissioner Vacy?
Actually, I don't have my calendar with me, but maybe we can have Roxy
She won't.
look at our calendars or give her ideas of when we're going to be here and when we're not. And then she can figure her
Pass something
agenda, her
around.
schedule by our schedules.
Okay.
Would that help? Can you do that?
Sure.
That's an excellent suggestion. So anyway, for now, we're not going to have an administrative briefing for next Tuesday for the benefit of those people who like to come. So we know that much. We'll look at the calendar for next Thursday, and the clerk will have an announcement regarding that meeting. Is that good?
Very good, very
Okay,
good.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you,
both.
Commissioners.
Okay, new business?
I have none.
I have none.
None?
And the notation we discussed about having an executive session after the meeting?
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Board
I
correspondence?
move the reading be waived.
Second?
Second. Or did you second it?
Third it.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Public comment?
Mike Sherman, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Sherman, S-H-E-R-M-A-N. I just wanted, on behalf of the Lorain County Organized Labor Family Festival Committee, to thank the Commissioners for their participation and support at the festival, which was held over Labor Day weekend in the form of their sponsorship. Once again, we had in excess of 20,000 people at Lakeview Park. Mr. Billman from the Solid Waste Management Group was there with his staff and had a display, and also Mr. Kelly from the Emergency Management Agency had a display. The displays were well received and well attended, and again, on behalf of the committee, we want to thank the Commissioners for their support.
Thank you. I want to tell everybody how neat you looked in that straw hat, too. The weather was a little nicer that day. Thank you, Mike.
And we would like to thank you for all the efforts that you guys put into putting that thing together. To receive 20,000 people, you had to put a lot of work in that, and the parking especially. Great job, guys.
It was just a very, very nice day all together. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no hands, I move we go into executive session for the purposes as outlined by the County Administrator.
Second?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.